You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Ready? Film School Lifeline, episode 5. Mark.
It has been such a hot minute.
It has been a very hot minute. Okay. Let's chit chat. So, last episode that came out a week ago from when you guys are hearing this one was actually recorded about 4 weeks ago now?
Yeah, like early March.
Early March. Because
it was
a few days before you shot your cycle.
Yeah.
And yours started on
March 15th.
the 15th.
Yeah.
So it was probably on like
The 12th or 11th.
Yeah.
Early March.
Yeah. So we recorded last episode
And it's
almost a month ago.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
And it's currently April 9th.
Okay. And to just fill you in a little bit, last episode we talked about preparing and final prep for our Cycle 1s.
Yes.
We even titled the episode Cycle 1.
Which is our 8-pager projects, 8 pages of scripts that we have 3 days to shoot. And we each have a weekend assigned, and my weekend was that upcoming weekend of when we filmed our last episode. Amelia was 2 weekends after, with spring break in the middle of that. So she spent all her spring break just stressing out.
And
yeah.
Also some other work that I agreed to do, which was really fun and honestly taught me a lot. But probably wasn't the best time to agree to do that. Learning experience will go into it. But meaning, now that we're doing this episode, and we're sorry that we missed 2 weeks. We understand, but that was like our major crunch time.
We were in the thick of it. Like
thick of it. But yeah, so we're here to debrief our sets.
Finally.
For Cycle 1.
Yes. And like the last Cycle 1 weekend that was assigned to like all students in our year was this past weekend, so April 5th through 7th.
Yeah, and
we were crewing on
8th.
that. Yeah.
No, today's the 9th. Today's the 9th. And not even to mention, there was one cycle that happened this last weekend that actually shot yesterday too.
On
so
Monday.
like quite literally, the last cycle for our cohort finished last night at midnight. So technically today at midnight. Not today. Yesterday. Yeah. Confusing. But you get the point. Like, It's not even been 24 hours since the last one wrapped.
That we crewed on as well.
Like, we were there been working yesterday.
Which also,
and also, I helped unload a truck today, mind you. I unloaded a truck the day before. I have done my truck duties.
Yes.
We've done a lot of things. Lots of trucks. Lots of equipment. Lots of driving and...
So we've been physically just put through the ringer.
Physically, mentally, emotionally.
For the past literal month. Like literal 5 weeks, basically.
Yeah.
So...
Where do we even want to begin? Because right now we're doing a lot of explaining.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of you guys who listen know this. That this has been a hectic time. And funny enough... It finally caught up to us, but remember when, shout out Mahika, a third-year Cine student here, when she was like, when do you guys have time to do this podcast? And we're like, we're making time! And then, clearly,
I was like, we have plenty of time.
It's just like once a week.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we were wrong. We did struggle a little bit, but we're back.
We are back.
Ready.
Oh, we're so back.
Just know that this... We're golden.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. I feel like we might be tiptoeing around the topic. Just a tad.
Okay, yes, I will start. Since my cycle was...
Yeah, your cycle happened. It's been what? 3.5 weeks since you last... you shot?
Oh my god, yeah, it has.
That's wild.
That is crazy.
3.5 weeks.
It feels like years ago.
Yeah.
But also just yesterday.
Let's talk about it. Okay.
Yes.
On the set. We'll start from the beginning. Day 1. Not even day 1. We'll start Thursday. We recorded the episode on that Tuesday. Thursday was when you had pickups and unloading and all that stuff. What were you feeling that day?
Oh my god. It was such a weird feeling because I wasn't necessarily like stressed, but there was that just impending feeling. Like, fuck, I film tomorrow. Like, it's actually like my weeks and months of preparation with my team has led up to tomorrow and we're actually going to start. So it's just like this huge thing that really is just like, and then I had pickups, so I woke up like not even that early. I woke up at like 9:30 to drive all the way to Burbank to pick up some things at a rental house over there. And I thought I would need like all the time in the world because I was like, oh, I gotta get back to Chapman by 2 for the gold room or like our equipment house like pickup appointment, and like I don't think I'm gonna make it in time. I made it in time with flying colors.
I remember you texted and you're like, oh, I'm back
I'm
already.
like it's noon.
And we're not picking up till like
2. Yeah, so I had like a good amount of downtime. And then pickup happened. I was there for all of it. I, along with my key crew, just helped check things out, put things into our truck. And then yeah, it was a pretty calm day. To the point where I felt like I was just like
before the storm.
No, yeah, and also I was just like, I feel like I should be doing more. You know, I had that feeling where it's just like, I feel like I'm not doing anything, and I film tomorrow, and I feel it's just like, what am I not doing? What am I forgetting to do right now? I try not to let those thoughts kind of like take over me. So like by the time we loaded everything, I just went home. I just stayed in my room all night until, like, yeah, I just stayed in my room. I just took a me afternoon and night.
Honestly, that's so nice to have like a day to just like, okay, this is all happening regardless of how you're feeling or not. So just to be able to like sit down, relish in it, relax as much as you can, and feel very rested before it starts. I feel like that's such a great Thursday to have.
Yes, it was. Honestly, I feel like that helped me a lot because it allowed me to also just like mentally prepare as much as I can for the upcoming weekend. And yeah, and then moving on to day 1, most cycles film 12 hours each day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all 12-hour days. Mine was a bit wonky because we had 2 locations that we had to film in. One was a cafe and one was a house. And our cafe, we weren't able to shoot the whole 12 hours there because it is a working cafe, and so their business hours were until 2 p.m. Well, technically their business hours are till 4, but they closed early for us to film there and get it in there by 2 p.m. So our call time was 2 to 10, because we also couldn't apparently go past 10 p.m. because then it would be considered overnight, which is against the rules. So we had a significantly shorter day 1, and we had 3 scenes to shoot. Not a lot, but they were some of our most important scenes. So it was like, really needed to get as much of it in as possible. And so day 1, I was running around like a chicken with its head cut off, just trying to get everything together, get first shot up, which did take quite a while. I anticipated that because it's just everyone getting
Day
back.
1, first shot always takes a bit of time.
It's just getting back into the groove of things.
Too, is that I know you felt like a headless chicken. I felt like the set was very controlled and like everyone knew what they were doing. You were very clear on what you wanted and what you needed from every one of your team members, which speaks highly of you and your communication skills and like your DP skills. Because we were all just able to like get right to it. And another thing too, I think it was Grady who said this. I could be wrong, but one of our professors always talks about how he would rather spend way more time than should be spent setting up first shot to get it exactly right, because it sets up the tone for everything, especially on day 1.
Yeah.
Not just like, first shot of the day, like first shot of the whole
thing.
film.
Yeah.
Like if you get complacent on that first shot, then it kind of sets that tone that you're okay being complacent for the rest of it.
Yeah.
And not that always happens or even is what people are thinking, but like I think it's always good to take your time and obviously be efficient, not lollygag, but like really know that, okay, I'm gonna take the time to do this.
Yeah. So yeah, and I do gotta say that first shot, it looks beautiful. Like it genuinely looks so good, and it's in the edit right now currently, and I think it's gonna stay in the edit because it's like the shot that starts our last scene. So like I think it's gorgeous and I'm very proud of it. But yeah, like setting up for it, it was weird because like, of course, every time I step on a set where I'm not the DP, I'm immediately put to work. There's always something that I can do the second I step on a set. And when you're the DP, I'm just like walking around, I'm just like empty-handed too, like, mind you. Guys. And I'm like, hey, besties, you're slaying here. Do you need anything from me? Like, and they're like, no, do your DP thing. Like, I don't
my DP.
What is my DP thing is?
Like, I want to help. I want to hold things, and then you're telling me I can't.
Yeah, just like so. I was literally like for like a good hour, just walking between Gianni and cam crew, being like, "Hey."
Okay, so first day was great. I mean, honestly, given that we only had 8 hours to do everything, people were very efficient.
Yes.
You got all of the shots that you needed.
Pretty
right?
much that first day, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there was only like one shot that needed...
Give or take 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we did miss 1 at least, which was a pretty important one, which kind of sucks because that was one we've been talking about like for months during our pre-production.
Yeah.
And so now we're just trying to scramble in the edit, trying to like make up for that. Yeah. But other than that, we got quite a lot of shots in each scene that day, which is a privilege.
Yeah.
Given that we only had 8 hours plus a hard wrap, so it was like 6.5 hours basically.
Yeah. But no, given the time constraints and everything, like, and it being a small space, like, you guys did a great job.
Yeah, we sufficiently planned. I talked with my gaffer, Modok, who's going to be here in the coming weeks. You can make sure of that.
Shout out, Modok.
And Modok, if you're listening, we're going to find you. And we literally talked, like, Wednesday night. And we made, like, overheads of all the lighting plans in every single scene that we had. And we had 18 scenes. So we had 18 different lighting plans of every room that we're going to be shooting in, what the setups are, what the scene is, what the blocking is. We prepped that all on Wednesday night before the cycle. And so that honestly helped out a lot.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely a lot. Because then I could fully trust Modok.
He knew the vision you wanted. So even on the day if you were busy or he was busy, he was able to be like, I know what's needed.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, okay, Modok, it's this scene. Here's, like, the pictures here. Boom, go for it.
Yeah.
And he'd get Genie right on it. And I feel like that's definitely what helped us in terms of our setup times. Even though they were long at some points, like, it genuinely helped out a lot. So yeah, that was day 1. Day 2 and 3 were in the house, which is like the main meat of our sort of film. Day 1 was like all upstairs. Day 2 was all downstairs. Nope. Day 2 was all upstairs. Day 3 was all downstairs. Day 2 was good. We had some intimacy scenes. We had an intimacy coordinator there for the first half of the day. So we had to like, we were kind of like rushing, quote unquote, to get those shots done just so that way the intimacy coordinator could, you know, have the rest of her day so she wasn't there too long on set. But those scenes were pretty good to film. I had to pull focus at one point because Amelia couldn't be in the room. And also we were having trouble with our follow focus as well. So
follow focus is like the best thing ever and the worst thing ever because it's great when it works, but then when it doesn't, you're like,
yeah, it's just like huge quality of life downgrade, and it's just like it's just like a plummet too. So you have to pivot so quickly. Yeah, but I've
seen the cuts of that scene, so
it
looks good.
No, it
killed
like,
it. Multitasker.
No, and then we had to, like the upstairs was pretty tough. I feel like any upstairs of any house is pretty tight.
This one was especially tight.
It was
because there was like just every room was along this like small hallway.
Yeah, and so like it was hard. Like people had to like go one at a time if they're moving stands and stuff like that, or else you had to like really squeeze by each other. And so the rest of the upstairs shooting was in a bedroom, which again was so small, not the biggest space, but we made it work. Setups were a bit difficult just because the speed rails we had were like, they weren't variable, so they couldn't like extend, like they couldn't change length. And so they were just a bit cumbersome to get set up, so that took quite a bit of time.
For someone who doesn't know what a speed rail is, it's basically a long pole of steel. Well, not all of them are steel, but you get the point. Just like a long pole, and you use it to help rig or build like camera setups. Yeah. So cameras can't always fit just on a tripod or by holding the hand. There's a lot of like, again, all you film people, you know this, but if you don't know, it's your camera can go on a lot of different things. It can go on what most people know a tripod or holding it, or it can be on these like stabilizers. It can be on these like rigs that you have to build. And so I think probably one of your coolest shots that you got, got a lot of really good ones, but you had this one overhead shot. So if you're thinking of it, you have a camera facing down, looking
like straight
down, a complete overhead,
like
or bird's eye view, or whatever you want to call it.
Perpendicular to like your subject.
Yeah. And so if you're thinking about it, you're like, oh, these shots look really cool. But when you're working on a budget, or not even just like a budget, but like people aren't getting like flying cameras or like drones or whatever. Like you're using the equipment that you have. And so we built this one shot where we rigged it to those speed rails, so 2 long poles on top of stands that were holding them. Like, and again, I say stands lightly. It's like things that are built to hold these things tightly in place so it's safe. Then you have to mount the tripod head, which is like what you actually put the camera on, but not like the tripod itself, just like the fluid head, upside down onto this thing. Have to re-rig the camera with like the base plate, which normally locks into that head. Locked in from the side of the camera, so then it was here, and then you're angling it down. So it's like, I have a picture. We'll have to put it, when we post it on Instagram, we'll have to post a picture of it to just show you, like, if you've not been to the set, this is how you get some of those shots that you wouldn't even think twice watching. And so again, those things take time to set up. And then not only are you setting up camera to do that, you have actors underneath it, which is like, obviously it's safe. These things are built to do that, but like you do need to be cautious around where you're walking. You're still setting up lighting around it. So these are tight spaces. Like a bedroom that had like, I think it was like a queen bed, a full bed. It was a big bed. It was a small bedroom with like at least a full to a queen size bed. And so there's like not much room to walk. So you're like, it's crazy. Like these film sets get so tight and small so fast, even if like the space itself is, like pretty large. It's just these things take up so much space, and yet you never see them in the film because you're not supposed to. But it's crazy. Sorry, I went on a whole tangent. It's just, for those who don't understand filmmaking, it's wild what you do with the resources you're given, because it's like what you're seeing on camera, there's a million things making it look so effortless.
And again, huge, unbelievable props to my G&E team. I'm so indebted to them. Like genuinely, all of y'all, I'm so indebted, because they fucking killed it each and every day on my set. And yeah, so day 2 was pretty fun. It was a soft wrap that day, so we can get a lot more done. And we managed to finish up everything and even start lighting downstairs a bit for day 3, and even got like one insert in there as well, which knocked out a complete scene that we needed to film for day 3. So coming into day 3, that was a bit stressful because that was the lowest amount of G&E that we had. We had about like 3 like grips and then Modoc, our gaffer, there. And I was stressed. I'm like, God, of course, like our biggest day, like it's gonna be.
The good news is though, is like, again, in the real world, or on these like really big crews, you have very specific jobs for everyone. But on these student sets, when you have limited space and budget and whatever, a lot of people are doing multiple things. So like, even though I was first AC for you, first assistant camera all weekend, once we got to some of those days where things needed to move around more, normally I'm just moving anything related to camera. So like camera rigs, the camera itself, the tripod, all that fun stuff. But I was helping with G&E. And like we had people anyone who's like in Cine, even people who aren't. Shout out to some of our editors, Joy and Anthony, who they literally have learned and like jumped into helping with G&E when hands are needed, because they're like, we know how important this is. It's major shout out to them, because there's no reason they have to be doing that, quite literally, at all. But they are killing it. But yeah, you have those hands. A lot of G&E really is like, there's an art to it, but a lot of it is physical labor, and so like you can help teach someone that pretty quickly to get the basic understanding. And then so really cool to see people who normally don't do certain things to help, or like even if they've done it before, that role that's not really theirs going to help do that. People are really resourceful and helpful on sets, especially again if you're working with a good team of people that you love and they care about you and they want you to succeed. It's life-changing. It's the best combination. Absolutely. And it's so funny, like people talk about this all the time, but when it comes to like film crews, you really do find your tribe. Like, I don't know a better word to use, but like, you find the group of people that you keep seeing on every single set because, this team of people works well together and they enjoy it. They have fun together. And I'll go into that in a little bit in my cycle, but it's cool when you have the people you love working with all doing roles together because it makes things so efficient and just fun.
Yes, no, definitely. And again, like, we had a smaller crew last day, but like, they were probably working quicker than when we had the biggest crew, like on Friday, which was insane. Like, they were working so unbelievably quickly.
Yeah.
And I was gobsmacked by like their efficiency, given that they were small and like they knew we like had a lot to do that day. Like, it was just so many things like going against us, because like, one, it's last day when everyone's already like sluggish from the past 2 days. Two, we had the most amount of scenes to shoot that day, which was 7. Like 7 big ones too. And then 3 is just like, we're so few in number, so it's just like everything was like going against us, but we still managed to get like a majority of our shots done. Like, we probably cut like a good like 3 to 5 out of like the 30 that we planned. So it's just like, oh my god, it was amazing. And so we wrapped, and we were able to wrap. Okay, one thing, love you, AD Antonio, you were a fucking rock star. We had to they were pushing for a hard wrap at like 8 p.m. 2 hours before we were supposed to be out of the house, taillights at 10 p.m.
And hard wrap literally just means like everything that is in the house or whatever location you're filming in needs to be up and gone. So like when you're shooting in a house, in this instance, it means every single piece of equipment is in the truck, every single furniture piece that was moved, any single piece of like production design that was set up in the house, like everything goes exactly back to normal. So imagine like when you see those videos of people moving in fast motion, it's literally that in real life. It's like everyone's sweeping and people are cleaning, and it's
all hands on deck. Everyone getting the fuck out of there. Get the fuck out. Like, it's quite literally that. It can be hectic, but like, it's really not, because each department knows what they're meant to do, and they just do it, and we all just coexist like that for a good like hour and a half. But we they were pushing for hard wrap at 8, which is ultimately what we did, and we hard wrapped everything was clean. PD was a rock star. B, like, I love you. Literally got the house spick and span, picture perfect, the way it was when we first entered there, within like an hour. Like, I was like, crazy. Whoa.
And because we needed some of that extra, we bled into that hard wrap time of those 2 hours a little bit.
Yeah.
And but we still were able to get everything and wrap on time with time to spare.
Yeah, we wrapped at 9:30, so we had 30 extra minutes, so we could have filmed more.
I know. So, like, it's always so difficult because it's like, we could have gotten this shot.
We could have gotten more.
It's so hard because had you not had that time, that would have been rough. And like, the school is very strict on that 12 hours. Like, you are not going over, and if you do, there are consequences. And there's just no reason to like even entertain the idea.
But that was just one thing. I was like, we could have filmed more, because I checked my phone as soon as we were all done, and we were quite literally going to our cars to leave the premises, and I checked my phone, it was like 9:30 exactly. I'm like, we could have had an extra 30 minutes, like a whole other shot or two that could have been
that's like the worst.
Golden.
But I will say, overall, you guys did a phenomenal job. And like,
coming out of
pivoting on set is such a it happens inevitably. Every set, nothing is going to go exactly how you imagine it, which obviously, like, duh, why would you think it would go exactly as planned? But like, the fact that you guys really didn't have to cut too many things and like adjust that much, that's like really impressive. Honestly, when you get majority of your things, I don't even want to put a number on it, but like, when you get 80%, like, that's such a good
That's already
number.
So good.
I know people who think they got maybe like 30% of the shots they had planned or whatever, and that's like, whoa. But
like, coming out of it, like, and being able to take a step out of it for once, that whole like weekend, those past 3 days, I was like, dang, we actually did get quite a bit. Like, there was never any sort of circumstance where we had to push shots to the next day.
Like,
basically every single scene that we planned for that day got shot.
Yeah.
Whether every single shot within that scene got shot is another story, but we managed to get every single scene for each day that we planned.
Yeah.
Which is,
No, that's so impressive. It's really impressive.
It's rarer than many people may think.
Yeah.
I feel like that's very rare.
And the thing is like the one thing that you can't get more, like, you can always plan more shots, have new ideas, whatever, but, like, you can't add time to a day.
Yeah.
And you can't change the sun. Like, for DPs, that's, like, the two biggest things. Once you're losing light, you're losing light. Nothing's stopping that from coming. And then also, you can't add more time in the day. And so the fact that you can accomplish so much in those 12 hours is crazy. Yeah. Given everything.
Yeah. No, quite literally. And so I am very grateful just for my team, for my key crew, just for that experience too, like knowing that it can be done, and just
it's a good learning opportunity.
No, yeah, it was great.
Next semester it's cycle 2s, which is another 3-day shoot, but this time more pages to the script. It's about 12 pages. So in this time, when you get 8 pages done in 3 days, it's now going to 12 pages in 3 days, meaning like you've got to work that much more efficiently, that much more condensed with your shot list, that much more
4 pages a day, which is insane.
And the thing is like industry standard. We have professors talking about how they're doing like 5 to 8 pages a day, you know? Yeah. But these are like seasoned people, and so they're working us to be able to do more industry standard things, which is like great learning, but it's also like, oh my gosh, this is still so new and difficult, but like it's cool. And I think without this experience, we would not feel prepared to go do it again, right? You know? Yeah. Or like so many things that were learned on this cycle, obviously. Like, either things that were, like, great, and you're like, I need to do this again. Yes. Or, like, this was terrible, and, like, I will never be letting myself do this again. This was my learning moment. Yeah.
No, yeah. And it was genuinely a great learning experience. And so now we're currently in our edit. We've, been in it for about, like, again, 3.5 weeks. And it's coming along. It's obviously in the rough stages. So we're just working on tweaking it, and then I get to go in color soon, which is honestly one of my favorite parts. Yeah. Like, genuinely, I love color grading, and so I'm just very excited to get in there and do it. But yeah, that was mine, so I think we should take this time to segue into our dear old friend Amelia's set.
Oh, man. So many things to say. Where do I even begin?
Okay, well, let's take it the similar spot we took it with mine, Thursday.
Okay.
Which was an eventful Thursday.
Yeah. So I'm gonna preface with saying that my cycle 1 was definitely a major learning experience, and nothing went according to plan. And you know, there's like, how do I word this? I know, like, I'm okay with change. Like, change doesn't bother me that much. I know pivoting happens, especially on a film set where things are so unpredictable and you never know what's going on. That doesn't scare me. But quite literally, everything that I had in my head that I thought might happen went differently than expected. And I mean, it started the week leading up where certain things, again, things just kept happening, and none of it was particularly bad or anything, but it was just like,
they were piling
chaos.
Up. Yeah.
Chaos piling up. I was starting to really feel the stress, and like, stress is normal going into a shoot. Like, you never feel like you could have prepared enough, even though you spend weeks and weeks preparing, and I was doing so many things to feel ready. I was getting very stressed, but basically that Thursday, the morning starts, and I needed to go pick up a pickup truck from our screenwriter to go pick up props from Burbank. And these were major props. These were, in our story,
huge props,
a lithotomy table, which, if you don't know, it's the like doctor's office table that you use in a gynecologist's office because it has stirrups attached to it, where you put your feet in when you're getting examined. We had to go pick up that and then some cabinetry to make a doctor's office look like a doctor's office in a Airbnb home. Yes. Like, very different. But I wake up early, have to go get the truck, go to Burbank, and right as I'm picking up the truck, I realized that there was a chance that we weren't going to actually get to start our shoot the next day because I was told that we hadn't been greenlit yet. And you're supposed to be greenlit at least 2 days before your shoot.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's like Wednesday at 5 o'clock is when everything's due, because your Thursday you're doing all your setup stuff, or the setup, like your pickups, you're picking up equipment.
Yeah, or set dressing.
Props, set dressing, all that. And you shoot starting Friday. And I was like, oh my gosh. It was just, I wasn't expecting that. And so then I was told, I was like, I'm literally in Burbank. What do I pick up these props or not? And they're like, okay, proceed as normal. Pick up the props. And I was like, okay. Okay. So I'm like kind of freaking out because I was like, obviously I've prepped so long to plan to shoot. What happens if we don't get to shoot tomorrow?
Yeah.
But I was told to proceed as normal by faculty, and I was like, okay, it'll all be fine. End up getting back just in time, because being on that call did make things take longer, getting in time to start unloading my truck. And immediately I have Sean there, and I have some other people like Danny, who is my gaffer and one of my good friends, and other people there to help me, which was like, again, having a good team. I can't stress enough, and I will stress it more later, but like can't stress enough, like really makes things so much better. But they helped me check my equipment, unload, or like load up my truck and whatever. And while that was happening, there was half of the team was split up getting camera and G&E equipment, and then the other half was getting PD and starting to go check the Airbnb that we were shooting in. Things end up taking way longer than expected. Like the G&E took about the time I anticipated, but props and stuff took a lot longer, so they didn't end up getting to the house until later. I don't really know exactly what time that they got there, but I didn't end up going to the house until about like 7:30, I'd say 8.
Yeah.
And you came with me, which was a huge help. And we get to the house, and our production designer and our producer and one of our PAs, who was a huge help. Like, PA is not even the right title to use.
Yeah.
We're doing a lot of work helping set up the house. So I get there, and we end up taking a pretty long time to do a lot of the stuff that was needed to be done. And it shouldn't have taken as long as it did. But, things happen. I do get it. But yeah, so that was kind of interesting, because eventually you left probably at like 10:30, 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty late. And so then I was still at the house and still trying to help with some stuff. But the house was supposed to be done and ready by the end of the day Thursday, so we could shoot. Our call time was 7:30 in the morning, Friday. And so it wasn't ready by then. And so then we were hoping that, like, okay, the next day it would be set up with everything needed, ready to go. So that next morning we show up, and 7:30 is an early call time, but people were a little bit slow to get there, which, happens on early day, whatever. But the whole shoot just was like very different than I expected. And I don't necessarily want to go super into it, but like really the biggest thing that I can say is I am so grateful for like the people who were there for me on that shoot. Because, like I said, like nothing went the way that I was anticipating. We were just moving at a pace that was not necessarily sustainable for actually getting all the shots we needed to. So I had to do a lot of pivoting with my director. And, I'm still very impressed with us, because we made our days in the basic sense.
Yeah.
Every scene that we had, we got enough to tell the story. Which... for me, I'm still having a hard time with, because I felt like a lot of my work was pretty rushed, because I didn't really get to sit at the camera and really analyze my frames or like my composition, or do the things that I like. Even on set, when it's hectic and things are going like crazy fast, you still need to take a second to stop, look at what you're doing, see what the camera's seeing. Yeah. And analyze. Yeah. And I didn't do that. And that's on me. And I let the chaos kind of get to me a bit. But I will say, even with our chaos and like us not having all that much time to shoot, because preparation and all that stuff just took way longer than I think any of us could have anticipated, the one thing I will say that I'm proud of myself for, not to say that there's not more things, but like, this weekend, like, that I shot, I kept my composure the whole weekend. And
you guys honestly should have, like, it. This was an interesting set, I do have to say. I was, of course, on it. And to see Amelia given everything that was happening on this set, both like mentally, physically, emotionally, all the Elise, like it, and for her to just still keep her calm and all that, and still be able to be a just collected sort of individual on that set, given all the chaos that could easily blow over anyone and everyone in that house. It was genuinely a sight to see. Like, and it, like, I honestly commend you for that, because I know I would not have been able to, like, they would have shown on me immediately, if not after like 30 minutes. Like, it, like,
yeah,
it is highly commendable, and I feel like you definitely deserve your props for being able to just keep your composure like that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like, it's hard to put into words, but I truly think, in terms of communicating on set, talking to my team, trying to pivot, I really did do everything I could.
You did.
Which I like is the grace that I need to give myself right now. Because right now we're working on our edit. I just saw my first rough cut 2 days ago. Yeah, on Monday. And our editor's doing a fantastic job, given the amount of footage she has to work with. Like, I mean, even with that, like, she's doing a phenomenal job. But I just am still having a little bit of a hard time, like, watching my footage back. And again, it's a collective, because I just, like, there's little things that I see where I'm like, wow, this, like, this should have been a little bit more to the right, a little bit tilted.
Yeah.
Like, things that if I took the second to breathe, look at the frame critically, I would have gotten a little bit better. And again, these are things that other people probably won't notice at all, or won't think. But I just, like, I know.
Like, I myself probably won't even notice it.
But yeah, I just think that, like, I am going to have a hard time with this film.
No, yeah.
I don't want to say forever, but, like, there was just massive learning experiences for me here. But again, at the end of the day, and again, I know I talked about how much you stress having, like, a great team of people behind you. Like, everyone, and I'm talking about, like, a lot of people in my production, but specifically, like, my whole, like, camera and grip and electric team, like, my favorite humans ever. Because meanwhile, while I was doing a lot of just, like, people management stuff, like, way less camera work than the DP should be doing, but, like, doing a lot of people management, they were all really, really helping me make sure that I felt, like, supported and was able to still, like, make my day at the end of it. And, like, again, shout out to Danny, my gaffer, Felicia and Fernando and Ritika, and oh my gosh, it's yeah, no, I know. And then you, I was saying all my G&E people, and then obviously
Anthony Roy,
who helped in G&E also, which again, props to you guys. And then you and Modoc on my cam team, like, you guys were incredible, and, like, I literally don't know what I would have done without you guys, because that weekend was crazy. And, you know, we're on the end of it. Like, it's been a week and a half since I've had my tears shed and whatever. And so, like, all I can do is just, like, reflect and move on. But I think that there's a lot of things that I learned personally. Like, I'd say, like, in terms of my actual, like, work growth, not to say that I didn't grow, but I feel like a lot of what I learned and I'm going to grow from this production is a lot of internal and, like, social,
like, interpersonal,
interpersonal skills and just everything. And so I'm, like, again, I'm proud of myself, but I also realize now that one thing that multiple people have told me, which is so funny, and again, I'm not like, oh, I'm all this great of a human, whatever, but, like, so many people have commended me for being so calm and composed, but then also telling me that I need to be more selfish. And I'm like, oh, but I don't want to, like, I don't.
No, because it's hard.
It's hard. I don't want to. And again, I'm not the most humble human by any means, but like, it's crazy to have people be like, no,
like,
you need to fight for yourself a little bit more. Like, be selfish. And so now I think the thing that I'm trying to get into my head is for cycle 2, because inevitably this is going to be a harder production because it's just more pages, less time, or like more same time for more pages, different crews, like working with people you've never met before, because they're going to be assigned to your project, all that. But then also people you do get to pick to work with, like really, really thinking about who it is that I want to work for, people that hopefully I've seen either firsthand do their work, or like if I haven't seen firsthand, really like asking the proper questions, doing my job as like not just a DP but as like a team member to like get to know my teammates on this project, which again I think that's something that like I didn't do the best job of also at the beginning. I think like I should have done a better job getting to know every one of my team members, not just like the couple that I would be working with the most, you know? And so like that's on me, but overall like it was a rough weekend. Didn't go how I expected. I mean, like, we did lots of, like, on our third day, the whole house wasn't even wrapped by wrap time, but everyone left. But we still had our Airbnb till the next day at, like, 3 p.m., 2 p.m. And so, like, went back to the house and was, like, hands and knees scrubbing the floors. And, like, my producer also, major shout out to her because her and I were doing a lot of, like, the major dirty work after the fact. And I mean, oh my God, I have so many people to shout out. Shout out to Emily. I don't even know if she listens to this, but Emily was like literally one of the saving graces on our set, and she knows why. We all know why. She was just an amazing woman, so helpful. I honestly I just learned a lot too. And one person that I want to shout out to, and there's no way she'll see this, but our script supervisor is someone that our producer brought on and had worked with her before. On a different set. I don't know where she met her, but this is like a working, like, okay, obviously we're all in grad school, we're all adults, but this is like a working adult in the industry, in the like industry. Working commercials and other features, like doing a lot of really cool things. After our second day of shooting, the key crew had a meeting and she stayed for it. And script supervisor, I don't usually typically isn't involved in some of these meetings, but because she has all this experience and knowledge, she came and told us, she was like, I don't want to overstep, but I want to tell you some things that I know from what I've learned and experienced on like the real world, like not the real world, but like students are all learning. But she's like, here's kind of how some of these relationships work. And one thing that she taught me was this thing called the triangle. And the triangle are kind of the 3 head people that you will see on any set. It's your director, your first AD, and your DP. These are kind of like the most key roles, not the only key roles, but like on the day of production on a set, the 3 people that are kind of giving the most orders. Because you'll have your director, who's obviously like kind of running the show, working with the actors, working with a lot of those people. You have your DP, who's working with their entire camera and G&E team, telling them how the setups are going to go, lighting, all that fun stuff. Then you have your first AD, who arguably is the most important role of like time management, making sure that things are running smoothly, things you're going to make your day. And she was talking about how like really on any set, you are all working so closely together that like there's no need to be like there's so much delegating that should be happening on a set.
Yeah.
And so learning that like our first AD should be kind of attached to the hip to our director, constantly asking questions, constantly coming up to the DP being like, how much time do you need for this? And not to say that people hadn't been doing that, but like to a level I didn't understand how much it was important to like be that close to that person and to do all those things. And having that person be like stern, but also like in a way where you know that they mean business, but this isn't like hurting your relation. Like you're still friends at the end of the day. This is just a working environment.
Yeah.
And so like, honestly, from day 2 to day 3, there was a major improvement in like our communication skills because our first AD was coming up to me asking me how much time I would need. I would give him an answer, or I would be able to go talk to my gaffer and be like, okay, hey, how much time do you think this setup needs? I thought roughly this. What are your thoughts? They tell me, I relay the information. They go do that. And then you have time. And so you could just tell that our day on the last one was a lot more efficient. and just like the communication was a lot better.
Yeah.
And that was something I was also really proud of, to see like growth even between days on sets. But yeah, so that was really something that I'm really grateful to have learned. And the other thing too is like with those triangle group of people, like the first thing that happens on set is like everyone should be getting to set a little bit early talking. So then when you go and do like your safety meeting, you're talking about exactly what shots are going to be happening, like on top of like all the safety and rules and regulations or whatever. Like you're talking about exactly where the camera is going to be placed, which direction it's going to be facing, what needs to be dressed, what might not be as important but needs to be on standby for the next scene. Like kind of going all for all these things from like, okay, this is like great knowledge to have and know, because then it gets everyone on the same page, and like people are able to delegate and do their jobs without having to like go to different people and ask and maybe not know the right answer and whatnot. Anywho, very cool. That was something I was grateful to learn, and like really, really enjoyed working with our script supervisor, because she was just so kind and knowledgeable, and like also a real MVP of our set.
Quite literally.
Honestly, there's a lot of really, 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 really great humans on our set, and so I am very grateful for all of them. And honestly, like, even though things went the way they did, and I wish they didn't go the way they happened, I don't regret anything. And like, I think it's taught me a lot, and it's given me a lot to reflect on and like what I can do better. And again, it just makes me really excited to work with a lot of the same people who are on my set, and also get to start working with people that I am like really, really excited about. Or not even just like really excited about, but things I've heard good things about, because working with new people also is so crucial, because you're always going to be working with new people in the real world, and you're going to be thrown into situations, and
you
might not get it. Like you're going to be tested. You're not going to get along with everyone, but like this was just a really, as like tough as it is for me to say, it was like a great learning opportunity, because I really did learn a lot.
Because it's like, and that's honestly good to hear, and I've been meaning to ask you whether you have any regrets from that set, because I don't know if I've mentioned this on another episode before. If I have, I'm sorry for sounding like a broken record, but I always follow this one quote where someone was asked, if you could go back into the past to change one thing, what would it be? And the person who answered said, I wouldn't change anything, because if I changed something, that would, like, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Yeah.
And I very much value where I am today, because then I have all this experience behind me that if I changed it, I wouldn't be having that.
Yeah.
I probably would have grown less if I didn't have that.
Yeah. I think, like, again, I don't have anything I don't have regrets. There are mistakes that I made that I'm like, man, it would be nice to go change it. But, like, I wouldn't have known that. And I also, like, again, I'm trying to give myself as much grace as possible, that, like, you know, everything that I accomplished given the circumstance, that was all I could do. Yeah. Like, truly, I didn't have more to give at the end of that weekend. Yeah. I was just, like, so exhausted by the end of it. But no, so I mean, like, again, good learning opportunity. Tough, but good. And yeah, I am honestly, though, like, I'm excited to color it, but I'm also, like, a little ready to be done with this project.
Just move on
to the next thing. But, you know, again, I learned something from it. Yeah. This is not the end all be all for me. Like, hopefully I have a long, prosperous career. Like,
exactly.
This is one project in grad school. Like,
it's one little low point that will never sort of define what you're going to be doing.
And in fact, like, the one thing too that I, again, holding on to is, like, low point, like, I feel, but again, the people that I love and care about, so many people have said really nice things to me that, like, is the reason I'm, like, have some sanity right now. And, like, not to say that I need validation from people, but, like, the people that I care about telling me, they're like, no, like, you're allowed to breathe and be happy, or, like, not happy, but, like, you're allowed, like, space. The way you're feeling is okay, but we also completely understand, and, like, we're here for you. Like, I think that was really, like, awesome. And, like, this is so funny, but Danny, my gaffer, was the guy who had set yesterday, and one thing he told me that, like, honestly really warmed my heart was his production is gonna be fucking insane. Like, it's truly so epic, and I can't wait to see how they put it together. But I was telling him yesterday, I was like, damn, like, I am so happy for you guys, like, genuinely, but I'm also so jealous, because I'm like, this is such a sick production, and, like, this is just so cool. But he was, like, telling me, he was like, look, he was like, I know you want to do big things next year. And he was like, and I want to be there with you to help, like, ump it up. And he was like, so he's like, you know, I believe in you and I got it. And so, like, saying that, literally, it took him 20 seconds to say what he did. But I was like, oh my gosh, that's so nice. And, like, just knowing that. And again, I feel that way about you and other people that I loved helping and being on their sets. And, like, you find your people, and I think, honestly, at the end of the day, the people are what make this industry. Like, making movies is fun, but the people are even more fun.
You stay for the people you're working with. Yeah. Quite literally.
Oh, but okay. Yeah. I know we have class. Yeah. I want to go to class. But it'll be good. This is a fun class.
Yes. We needed this debrief. Guys, we could talk about this forever. So, if you know us personally, feel free to come talk. No, yeah.
But, get the juicy deets.
But if you want to talk, if you know us personally and you want to talk, set aside, like, a good, 12 hours.
12 hours. You need a whole day on set for us to give the full rundown.
Like, clear your afternoon.
Yeah, it'll be a long one. But, anywho, thank you guys for listening to this big debrief.
And
but
we will be having more interviews soon.
Now that cycles are over, people are held hostage. I mean, no, they want to.
No, yeah, exactly.
But yeah. Okay. Well, this has been
Film School Lifeline.